Your next guest says there are some key words to focus on from Powell. Joining us now is Bill Lee. He is chief economist at the Milken Institute. Bill, good to chat with you again. What are those key words?
The new stanza since Jackson Hole in the Fed chorus has been monetary policy lags and cumulative tightening. I think these are the messages the FOMC is trying to give markets, that they're ready to start to ease up on the pace of tightening. They're not going to pivot, and that's the main message that Powell's going to try to emphasize. Just pausing or slowing down our tightening is not a time for the markets to rally, because we're not anywhere near 2% inflation. That's the gauge that they all want us to focus on. And any commentator out there that says, oh, gee, the Fed's going to give up because if they see unemployment going up, they're going to give up. That's the message they really want to get rid of. And the markets have to focus on 2% inflation. If we're not anywhere near, we're not anywhere near easing as either.
Is there something to read in the fact that there is a speech at all, Bill, that he kind of came in and scheduled this speech sort of semi-last minute, which is really unusual for a guy like Jay Powell? And you almost get the sense that he's basically saying to the other Fed members respectfully, you know, I'm the captain now.
Well, I think there's an enormous amount of unanimity among the FOMC members, more than usual. And I think right now we're starting to see a little bit of cracks appearing in terms of the words that people are using, in terms of time for a pause, time for slowing down, time for slowing down the size of the hikes. And I think the wrong message for the markets to get would be that the Fed is not agreeing with the 2% target, and they may actually be disagreeing about the pace of tightening. There is no disagreement, I think, that the Fed has got, and the message from Powell is that we are unified. And I think they don't want the markets to rally enormously after his speech, because he's got to focus in on 2% inflation.
Well, he's also got to focus in on unemployment. I mean, the Federal Reserve has a dual mandate. We've kind of forgotten about that. Maximize employment, price stability, i.e. keep inflation at bay. Is it fair to basically, you know, go after one so hard, in other words, go after inflation so hard, Bill, that you end up killing the other one, right? And spiking unemployment, and now you've just traded one mandate for another.
Brian, that has been the question that has really haunted the Fed from the very beginning. The fact that it has a dual mandate, and even more importantly, the Fed chairs over history have focused in on their mandate in a different way. Arthur Burns focused on unemployment. Paul Volcker said, my God, we got to get rid of this inflation. And Ben Bernanke actually threw in a third one, which is to say, we got to also worry about market stability. So that kind of uncertainty that's been introduced into the way the Fed operates has been a real problem for the markets to understand what the Fed's doing, and has kept people like me, Fed watchers, fully employed, because the question is, what's the Fed doing now? If the Fed came out with a rule and said, this is how we're making our decisions, that would actually get the Fed focus away from the markets, and markets to focus on earnings and what's really important. But the fact that the markets are focused on the Fed means the Fed is not clear in how it operates, or the markets don't understand how the Fed operates.
Do you think that we are just way too reliant? I don't mean we, CNBC, although we talk about it probably as much as more than anybody else does. The markets, I've been doing this now, 25 years, so I've kind of seen the progress of like, well, we kind of talked about the Fed. Now we kind of talked about it a little bit more. Now it's like they're everything. And I just don't think, with all due respect to the Fed, they're very smart men and women, work hard, I'm sure. I'm tired of talking about them. I feel like it's like, I don't want my economic future, you know, on my children beholden to a bunch of unelected officials making obscure policy decisions.
And that's a real critical question that Congress is going to have to face up to. The Congress wanted the Fed to be more transparent. They wanted the Fed to say, tell us what you're going to do, tell us what you're looking at, and tell us how you're looking at the stuff and what you're going to decide after you've looked at the data. And so all this Fed talk has been in response to calls for transparency and accountability. But unfortunately, the mode of communication, the speeches that are being made, the various Fed speakers giving slightly different messages has brought more confusion on top of the transparency. And so I think what's going to happen for reform in the future is Congress is going to have to mandate to the Fed, look, follow a rule, follow a consistent behavior pattern. And when you think the data are so bad that the world has changed, that you got to change the rule, come tell us you're going to change the rule and do it. But don't change the rule under normal circumstances. And I think once we make that clear, the Fed operates that way, markets will be much more certain about what things are doing, what the Fed's going to be doing. And I think we have the volatility go down quite a lot.
Yeah, I think it would be healthy for everybody just not here after maybe today and the meeting in 2 weeks. Let's have like a quiet period for like a year. Bill Lee, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
That's fine.